Hi, I'm Sean Dunne, and welcome to this episode of Origin to Ambition, the Entrepreneur's Journey. In this episode, I speak with Tom McCarthy, owner of Husset HR, a human resources consultancy firm. Being a people-first person, Tom adds an interesting perspective to entrepreneurship, and I'm sure you'll take away a lot of nuggets of wisdom from this episode. So I invite you to sit back and enjoy this episode of Origin to Ambition. Welcome to Origin to Ambition, the show where we explore the small business entrepreneur's journey in business. I'm your host, Sean Dunne. Let's get into it. Tom McCarthy, welcome to Origin to Ambition, and I really appreciate you making the time for this episode.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. I'm quite excited and interested to hear your tale. So on that note, let's kick off. Can you take me back in time? Go back as far as you like.
Yeah.
Give me a bit of your background, and this is pre your business, which I will ask you to talk about that as well. But go back in time. Take us through your background a little bit, please.
Yeah, perfect. So, long time ago, I actually grew up in hospitality, as a lot of people do. So, coming out of school, going into uni, bouncing around, and got heavily into hospo. Loved it. Loved everything about restaurants and bars, and the back of house and the front of house and the hotels and all those sort of things. And did that for a while, and got to a point. I'd finished my degree. I bounced around with my degree. I'd actually started in arts, and then I was sitting there, moved into business, and then some management and human resources. And it got to my end of my degree, and I was a bit late finishing that. And all my friends were starting to get jobs, and I was still working nights and living the dream, doing the hospo thing, and had to make a decision. So a mate of mine tapped me on the shoulder and said he just got this job in this consulting firm. Come over. And so I had to make this really big call because I was going to be a career hospo person. But I said, no, I'll try the corporate. I'll try, use this degree. I had these grand plans of being some captain of industry. And so I was hospo for many years and then made the jump into a small business consulting style business. And that was about 15 years ago. So that's, loved it ever since. Still love the hospo. But yeah, my background was hospo and then coming into business. And there's a lot that carries over, which is why I still really enjoy it. And now been with Husset for about 12 years now. So it's been some time.
Yes.
Continuing to grow and learn new things. And that's me.
Now I'm just going to backpedal a fraction. When you talk about hospitality and loving it, was it part of your thinking even back at that time? Because you run your own business now.
Yes.
Did you have it in your mind at some point that you wanted to be, self-employed in hospitality? Was that a bit of a...
Yeah, it was. It's, look, I always, as I said, I loved hospo, but I always had these ideas of it's very hard to become quite successful in hospitality unless you own it. Yeah. And it's very hard to be in a position to own hospitality by working in hospitality. So when I went in and when we started this business, my secret plan was to actually start the business to make enough money to buy a winery and a restaurant and a winery and become like this mad farmer and a winemaker running a cool restaurant. And maybe that's the plan. Well, if you want to, just put up with hard work, this is a good training ground in what we're doing for that. But yeah, that was a grand plan, is to buy a winery and have a restaurant and have this thing where you come to Tom's restaurant and everyone just loves it and we have a great time and drink great wine and eat great food. So that was a grand plan. It's still sitting there somewhere in the back of my mind. So it might have been a little bit larger than I initially thought when I did it. But yeah, that was the goal ultimately, to have my own sort of vineyard, cellar door, restaurant, estate, farm.
We might circle back to that later in this conversation.
Perfect.
That's very interesting. And the reason I ask that question is because oftentimes in these conversations, I find that my guests had an entrepreneurial itch of some description for, even so far as being back in high school and that sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, would you even go back that far? And I'm not trying to dig into your high school years necessarily, but would you, is there a point in time way back where you were just always looking for, I'll use a term which I'm not really fond of, but, always having a bit of a side hustle or something like that? Did you have that even as a teenager or kid or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've worked since I was about 12 years old.
Yeah.
Classic story, used to make I used to do a paper round.
Yeah.
in the eastern suburbs in the little post box, and you go down. We're quite young and it was very dark, and Mum wasn't too happy about me riding my bike around. So me being the hustler, I used to wake Dad up and get Dad to drive me around. So he'd drive me down my paper round, and I'd sit out his sunroof and throw the papers out and get the money. So we got through that quickly, and Mum was happy because I wasn't 12 or 13 riding my bike around at 5 a.m, and Dad loved it because I was out there working so did that, and I've always worked, and I always loved it, and always done it through high school. I was working a lot whilst doing my studies, and then through uni. Always the one who was just working and looking at other things, and it wasn't so much hustling; it was just being like usefully or gainfully employed, creating something or getting something. Look, I love to party and have a good time like everyone does, but at the same time, I've always thought you can do whatever you want as long as you get up to work the next day. And that's probably something that's stuck with me for a long time. So I did that, and as I said, I was quite interested in the arts and literature, and I always thought I was going to be a lawyer. I used to read like law journals, and then I thought I wanted to be a stockbroker or a merchant banker. And so trying to work through that, and I do, one of those key points, I remember I was studying at La Trobe and Bendigo at the time. And I was up there staying on campus, and I was in this arts degree, and we're learning about the Iliad or something. And I'm just like, what's going on? Like, I can't work. I'm away from my mates. I'm learning about Greek history, which I really enjoy. Like, I quite enjoy it. But I was just sitting there, and I had this moment. I saw this blue 911 Porsche drive up, and I'm like, I want one. And literally at that point, I then went in and transferred straight into business. And transferred my courses, and then went into economics and finance and trade. And then really found I love that probably more so than studying what happened, but more so what you can do.
Understand. That's interesting. I'm a bit older than you, but you definitely put a smile on my face when you talked about sticking yourself out of the sunroof of the car. I don't think you can get away with that too often anymore these days. Not much.
No, I don't think we could then, but
I think they were different times, mate. I think even the law would sort of let you go if you were doing a paper round. You know what I mean? Being useful and productive.
Oh, fun! No, it was fun times.
Good stuff. Can you please take me through Husset and just explain what you do? How did that evolve? How did that come to be?
Yeah, right. So we ended up, as I said, I went and got a job with a friend at this small business, and we learned an enormous amount at that business. And hats off, I still respect the guy who started that. We were there for a couple of years, and being young and probably a bit naive, thought we could do this better. We've got other ways of doing it. So we left, myself and my friend, or my business partner at the time, and we were very young, but we came up with this idea, and it still holds true to us now, where we were both quite entrepreneurial, but we believe that businesses should make money, but as long as they look after their employees. And so then we were thinking about how do we do it, and Husset actually means a human asset. And we believe that humans are the asset of any organization. And they still, even in this day, it's great to have all these bots and apps and agents and things, but the humans are the ones who think about it, create it, and do those sort of things. So we started Husset, and we wanted to go in with one. We didn't want to take the traditional consulting route. So we started as fixed fee straight away, because we didn't want people scared of getting the right advice, looking after their team, because they were scared of these lumpy bills working in the small business. But then also truly partnering with people, really becoming involved in these businesses. It wasn't just an advice line of here's a pinpoint or here's a very small problem. We looked at what's the entire picture, because often that's not the problem. It's 5 steps beforehand that cause the problem. So taking that partnership route, and that's what we're really about. And so Husset really provides the resources of a large corporation, but to small businesses. And so you get that support, get that advice. But the other main thing that we do is we implement. There's a lot of consultants who tell you what to do. There's a lot of advisors who go, here you go, do this. Where we really made a difference is we actually came in, gave the advice, but then implemented the works. And that came from, we used to, many, many years ago, go and sell a policy or put in an employment contract. And it's 8 months later, I get a call going, hey, I've got these problems. Well, where's all this stuff? Well, in the shelf that you left it on when you left.
Absolutely.
So Husset really comes in and acts as that HR department, acts as that HR resource for both the employers and the employees to try and get that medium where the businesses can be profitable, but the employees are looked after as well.
I love it. You just said something, and this is me going off on a bit of a tangent, but I think it's a really important point for anyone listening who's either in small business or an entrepreneur or thinking about doing those things. You said something about the problem being 5 steps prior. And it's interesting. Now, I'm relating this kind of to sport.
Sure.
And well, I think it's interesting because I actually just did this in a client meeting yesterday where there was an issue for the client, but the issue itself wasn't the issue, it was the step before, you know? And I find the same so I'm talking about, sorry, this is a tangent. I'm talking about, so, if I'm doing kendo, my martial art, and a student says, oh, this isn't working for me, you can invariably go back to what they did in the step prior to the technique and find the error. Right. It's not the technique, it's the step prior. Yeah. And I found that in my practice with dealing with clients, and you've just said exactly, you've gone back 5 steps, but you deal with a lot of businesses. I think this is where we'll get a lot of insight today. Do you see that in a lot of businesses, that it is that, you can become fixated on the problem, but not thinking more broadly about, well, what's happening prior or what's happening around that problem? Is that a fair call?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'll give you a classic example. We've seen it not too much anymore because we're good at what we do, but we've all heard of unfair dismissal.
Yeah.
And so an employee is terminated or has left the business for whatever reason, they're unfairly dismissed, and they put in a claim. And so we jump on, okay, how do we fix this unfair dismissal? What do we do? People are scrambling to get documentation, support what they're doing. But afterwards, you can deal with that unfair dismissal. But if you just deal with that, you haven't actually fixed it. You're going to have another one. Yeah. And it comes back to, well, how did we get there? And then what was the situation before that? And how was the manager providing correct advice? And was it, even before that, is the manager trained on how to give or communicate with the team member? And even before that, are the structures set up so they're empowered to actually make decisions? So even in the case of an unfair dismissal, you've got to go all the way back and go, actually, this is where it started. We didn't empower them properly. They weren't confident in their ability. They weren't trained in what to do. They didn't have structured processes around it to give feedback. And it gets to the end where someone goes, this person needs to go for whatever reason. We've got this big problem because we didn't follow the process and set the structures up properly in the at the start.
That's I think, that's something that I'm not sure I've really explored this discussion in previous discussions on this podcast, to tell you the truth. But what you're really talking about is going back to the root cause and root cause analysis to sort of prevent future issues. So I think that's a really good lesson for anyone. So sorry, I did go down a bit of a rabbit hole there.
That's right.
Which I tend to do. When you decided to become, when Husset's evolved,
sure,
was there a pivotal moment that it was like, I have to do this? Like there was a light bulb moment, or was it something that percolated over time?
I think it probably percolated over time. As I said, I always wanted to do my own thing.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm never really good at sort of the authority of working under other people. I had this bit of, I think, I'm settling.
There's a common theme on this podcast.
I'm settling down a bit, but it's always, when I was a bit younger, I always thought I knew better. I've got the right way, and you learn your lessons very quickly when you go into business for yourself. So I don't know the right always better, but I always wanted something more, and I think I always wanted to be something more. And the idea of sitting in a desk, working for someone, just going through the tasks, it just really didn't fit well for me. And I think going back to that hospo is that we say you're doing a service and you're in this shift and you've got this 3-hour period of absolute manic craziness, which is the people are happy, people are sad, and you've got to be creative and find ways to fix problems and move quickly and go hard and just give everyone, or make sure everyone walks out with the best experience. And sometimes shit goes wrong. And sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. But most of the time, as long as you get most right, everyone walks out with a good experience. And taking that to business, it was or to where I wanted to be, is I love that chaos. And often me as a manager myself now, that chaos is hard to manage.
Yeah.
So I think I never really wanted to work for someone else. I always wanted to do my own thing.
Yeah.
I quite like doing my own thing, but I love the creativity of business.
Yeah.
And people think, and this is through my whole life, people think, HR is pretty rigid. Well, it's not. It's extremely creative, and you've got to think about different ways and look at things different ways. And I just found I just couldn't do that working for someone else. And so then coming into business, it was more of an opportunity. I think as I said, we're a bit young, a bit naive, but no families, no big mortgages. If we're going to do it, let's have a crack. What's the worst? We can end up living with mum and dad again. We're in our mid-20s. Why not? And so we took the leap, and it was a slog. Like it was a slap in the face really quickly.
Well, I was going to ask you about the early days. So I think you're already sort of going into that thread. So what was it like early days?
Yeah, look, it was so much fun, but it was an enormous amount of fun. But it was a rude awakening. You think you're going to come out, you got your chest out. We've just done this for someone else. And then you step out on your own and you realize, oh, wow, there's so much that we didn't think of. There's so much infrastructure and process and system. And then also like insight of what step to take. So it was tough. We were lucky. We went out and myself and my partner at the time went out and we called on relationships that we had. We weren't big marketers, but we sort of focused on a couple of key areas and went quite well in those areas, which gave us some funding to actually get going, which was quite good. And like, I still remember the first deal that we did was for a quite large, prestigious institution that was rural. And we signed this agreement with them. And the agreement was for an annual agreement that might have been $15,000 or $20,000. So it's an enormous amount of money, but in the scheme of business, it's not this huge contract. And I still remember we went out to celebrate. So we went to this place called Siglo, which is the great wine bar at the top of the city.
Yes, I know Siglo.
And so we just thought, we're going to go have a drink. We ordered the champagne and we had a bottle of champagne. Well, how the hell are we going to pay for this? So I still remember that quite vividly. It was an amazing time. But look, from there, I think it was hard.
Can I jump in? Sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
And I know that at the time, maybe you were thinking, how are we going to pay for this? But I think there is a lesson as well that, and I hope you continue to do it to this day, and we definitely try to do it here, that, you have to celebrate your wins. When you're self-employed, there's no one, and that's the thing about self-employed, there's no one clapping you on the back either, so it's got the benefit of not sitting at a desk answering to somebody else, but there's also no sort of often no external recognition per se, if that makes sense. So you have to celebrate your wins internally. Is that something you still?
Yeah, it is. Look, it's probably something I've started doing more now. I'm getting a little bit older. We're more established, and it's hard to do, but just taking the time to sit back and reflect, going, actually look at what we have actually achieved.
Yeah.
It might not be Google. Yeah, you're not flying in a private jet, but if you actually look at it, we've created these jobs and there's families who rely on this business, and you can take time to step away for a week and just really enjoy yourself. And it might not be sipping champagne anymore. It might just be go away for the weekend with family and just hang out and do that. But you have to take the time to celebrate or just recognize.
Yeah, and that's I want to circle back to where we were. So I interjected there, but I think too, there's a lesson in what you just said around sometimes you have to, I think when you're self-employed and you're an entrepreneur, you're often looking forwards all the time. Like, what's the next challenge? What's the next goal? But I think you have to look backwards sometimes to understand how far you've come and sort of not, and celebrate that, not beat yourself up that you're not already at the next goal, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now listen, let's get back to Siglo and the champagne and how are we going to pay for this. So what came next there?
Hustle.
Yeah.
It was and I said, when I first started with this other gentleman, and he instilled in us with salespeople first and consultants or professionals second. Now, I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't get it. And I thought sales was a dirty word, but coming out of that environment, we just put our head down and just called people and got out there and met people and spoke to people and did the networking and just took everything and took every meeting. And, we were talking earlier about, choosing your clients, but we take any client and you learn and it's always just what can we do better? What can we do next time? And we were quite quick to go, great, how can I fix that? How can I improve this? How can I get the next client? And it's always, very much been about how do we get more people on into our cycle. And we did that for a few years and we grew quite quickly into a small business, but it was a business and successful, allowed us to employ a couple of people, which was great. It's just always just you just can't sit still. I think if you do sit still, it can fade away quite quickly until you're at a certain point.
Yeah.
So, how do we pay for it? It's burn the ships. Like, as I said earlier, there's no going back. So you may as well go now,
Yes.
and keep trying because, there's no retreat.
Yeah. I like what you just said around just always learning how to do something better or how to get to how do we get the next clients or whatever. And again, I risk being repetitive on this podcast, but I find the people I speak to here and my guests invariably have this mindset of continually learning, continually growing. And I don't mean just growing the business, but growing as a person. Again, without trying to be cliched, but always learning and always, and even taking failures as learnings, not failures as, I'll give up. It's sort of like, and I just said this, I recorded another episode of this the other day, and in our household, we say to our kids all the time, my wife coined this actually, or not coined it, but she uses it, you're winning or you're learning.
Yeah.
And I find that all of my guests have got that kind of mindset. Is that,
yeah.
I mean, resonates.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the things I learned, look, I used to take the hits pretty hard, but what I learned quite early was, look, own it, move on. How do we keep things moving?
Yes.
It's very easy, particularly when you're running it by yourself, to sort of get in your own head and it's not going to give you the outcomes you want. So you just sort of own the problem, acknowledge it. What can we learn? How do we move on? One of the things with my team, our internal guides, is we make mistakes, but we make them once.
Yeah.
And we own that.
Yeah.
But you make it once because you don't do it again.
Yeah.
And I think that mentality of, okay, cool, what did I learn? How do I move on? How do I bring that into the next thing?
Yeah.
It compounds.
Yeah.
And you end up with all this information or know-how of how to do things or how not to do things, probably more importantly, because you know what the outcome will be. Yeah. So your learning is very important.
I'm sort of going to jump to a thought that I had just listening to you speak there around, you are doing it on your own often when you start, my definition of an entrepreneur is somebody, and spoke about this the other day as well, but it's a person who's running a business and started something. I'm not suggesting that it's the person who's, founded the next Google or Apple or Microsoft or whatever it may be. If you're self-employed and running your own business, you're an entrepreneur by definition. So oftentimes you are just on your own.
Yeah.
So the question I have is around getting advice. And I say this every time I have this chat. I'm not saying it from the perspective of a financial advisor such as myself necessarily, although I think there is a value there. But I'm talking in the sense of, or in terms of, having a mentor, having a peer network that you can lean into. Because at the end of the day, when you start a business, often you haven't got the capital to employ a financial advisor, employ, a solicitor, a high-end accountant, whatever it might be. So is that something that you did at the start of your business, or is it something you were like, I wish I had have done that at the start of my business? Like, you see where I'm going with that? Like, is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, great point. I think I was very lucky in the sense that I really enjoy being around people. I enjoy learning. I enjoy finding out about people. I just really enjoy conversing with people, understanding them more. Some people can say I might be a bit nosy at times, but it's just I truly get genuine satisfaction about understanding what you do and who you are. And doing what I did, I was lucky enough quite early to surround myself with business owners or people who were doing it themselves. And we've all now, my group of best mates, we're all on our own businesses. Yeah. And I have been part of a number of groups and they've got value. I've had a couple of business advisors throughout the year. And again, at the time that they added value. But probably the biggest thing or the biggest asset that I have is my close mates are all business owners. And the conversations and the WhatsApp chats aren't about who won the footy. It's like, I've got this problem or, geez, I'm facing this. And has anyone ever seen anything like this before? And when we get around, you go out for dinner, you sit around the pub, the war stories and the learnings, like, wow, that's a great idea. And someone's always trying something new and someone's trying something different or someone had a learning
Yes. Yes.
And you pick up on these things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I do. You have to, I don't know how I do it if I didn't have that sort of network around me.
Yes.
Even just to call and go, mate, it's a bad day. Like it's a bad day.
Yeah, someone to vent with.
And they get it and they understand it. So in terms of like professional advice, I think I probably I should have gotten advice earlier. To what you said, I didn't, both personally and professionally.
Yeah.
That's something I didn't do, and I probably wish I had. On the professional side, even just a mentor or a guide to just bounce things off, however that is. And then I was thinking about this the other day, but now I've got a young family, and I'm like, I wish I got some financial advice early as well. And it's not giving you a plug; it's just what I think. I wish I could have set myself up better because I wasn't raised with a lot of that sort of information about financial advice and finances, and I had to learn it. So yeah, definitely, I think it's very important to get it early in some form.
Yes,
and then grow on that because, as I said earlier, everything just compounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sean Dunne here, and thank you for watching this episode of Origin to Ambition: The Entrepreneur's Journey. I'm a financial advisor who specialises in working with small business entrepreneurs and high-income earning executives. We analyse cash flow, build assets, and protect those assets to help our clients do what they want, when they want, with the people that they want to do it with. So if that's of interest to you, head over to our website and book an initial discovery call, and I'd look forward to speaking with you. What motivates you to do everything you do every day at work?
I actually love being part of things, businesses that grow. I love being part of the challenge, and I love being part of the successes. Also part of the learnings or the things that haven't worked, but just being part of it. I really get a lot out of. I enjoy building something. And also the thought of sitting in that desk 9 to 5 is pretty scary to me.
So that's carrot and stick analogy. The carrot of enjoying being around people and growing businesses, and the stick of having to work for somebody.
Oh, it was funny. I had one of my team members, Bianca, she's been with me for years, and we were a bit busy a little while ago. And I'm like, I just wish that I could just have a sit there and in an office and just do my work and go home. And she starts chuckling. She's like, you would hate that. Like, what are you talking about?
Just having a quiet moment of delusion.
Correct.
I like it.
It's good. It's good fun though. I mean, look, it's hard. It is hard. No one's going to deny it, but it's so much fun. Yeah. And if you're the type of person who gets satisfaction out of it, you'll thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What do you see as the most important values to have in business?
Yeah, again, interesting. I think, values is an interesting word because people in my industry, people throw it around a lot and they say integrity and trust and those sort of things. And look, my opinion is if you have to state them, you're probably not worth doing business with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I look at values as a framework of decision making. And so in that framework, I always think what's going to get the best outcome for the situation. I think the other value I have is, we have a lot of fun if you do the hard work.
Yes.
So if you do the work, you can have fun. But if you're not doing the work, don't expect the fun to come.
Yeah.
And then another value I try and instill is how do I keep things moving? So they're probably the core things. I mean, our overarching one, I've got this documented and it goes out in the handbook and whatnot, is relationships over profit.
Yeah.
I had a lot of mates tell me, like, that is so stupid. What are you here to make business? And I'm like, it's not. We're here for the relationship. And as I said at the start, we really want to partner with people. And you're not going to drive for the profit if you can't maintain that relationship. And sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down. But relationships over profit is probably a really big one for us as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Touch on that. And I want to circle back to your always moving comment because I think there's something in that we should explore a little bit further. But you hear people say money isn't everything. But I also counter that with you also can't do anything without it.
Great.
So, but with that being said, I find invariably the people I'm talking to on this podcast is that if you put you put value first, and everyone's got a different spin on what values they're bringing to the table or what they put first. But it's interesting that having that sort of core and solid group, set of values the money follows. I don't think we should, and I'm not suggesting you were saying this, I don't think we should shy away from being profitable. I mean, if you're not profitable, you won't be there for your customers or clients in the next 5, 10, 15 years. You'll fade away. So you have to be profitable. We have to turn a profit. But I think the profit comes if you do put those core values first and foremost. I mean, that's kind of where you're going with that?
Yeah, it's exactly right. Like, as I said, when we started the businesses should make money and be profitable, but not at the expense of the employees. It's the same as the values where, I say this sometimes, is businesses don't run on rainbow and unicorn farts. Like,
I haven't heard that.
But it is like, you've got to make money.
Yeah.
But where I see it is, look, sometimes, you might take a hit, or sometimes our model is we do extra work.
Yeah.
And the traditional model will be, great, here's your fixed fee. Oh, we've done extra work. Here's a correction invoice.
Yes.
Well, that's not the shared relationship that we want. Our thing is, hey, we've done the extra work. We know that there will times it'll slow down and we will be more profitable.
Yes.
But over the long term, you get what you need, we get what we need, and our relationship remains intact.
Yes.
And, there was this time, I remember in COVID, and everyone was doing really tough. And I blurted something out because someone was trying to sell me something. I can't remember what it was. I'm like, look, it's not the time. I don't have time. And I got the classic, well, if you don't have time for your business, you're not in business. And I remember, the only reason I remember it is because it stopped this salesperson that, oh, wow. And I just said, look, our clients have been there for a long time. Right now, we need to be there for them.
Yeah.
So it's not the time for this. We just need to tighten up and get everyone through this.
Yes.
And that's the sort of mentality that we always take. And the relationship of the profit is, look, let's get through this together.
Yes.
And then we'll look at it. Don't get scared that you're in a tough spot and then you're going to get smashed with bills. Let's just get through it, and then we'll look at it in the long run.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I wanted to touch on your comment around you're always moving. Now, that just stuck out to me there. I had a conversation recently with Cameron Schwab, and he said something to a similar effect about always moving. And he said, and even to the point of moving where the result might not be the result you wanted, but you can't sit still.
Yes.
And so how does that resonate with what you were just talking about, that always moving, constant motion?
Yeah. Look, I think it's just this cyclical process. If you learn a bit and then you implement, you learn a bit and you implement, and you get a new idea and you try and implement it, and it might not work. But then, okay, what didn't work? Now, how do we do an iteration of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just, I find if you just, in the industry, in the space we work in, if you're not evolving and you're not moving and you're not being creative and coming up with new ways to fix things, or better ways, or it could be efficiencies. It doesn't have to reinvent the wheel, but how do we make a better wheel?
Yeah.
So as long as we keep going, we keep moving that way, that's really important to me. And I think you have to. If not, you will be left behind, because there are people who will.
Yeah.
And the rate of information at the minute, and the rate of change, and how rapidly things are changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So look, personally, we have to keep moving. We have to keep going. How do we keep things moving? Really important. And yeah, it's the old saying, like, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
And growing might not be profitability, or it might not be headcount. It just might be growth personally, or how you do things. But if you don't, you'll be left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. Tom, where do you see Husset over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, it's funny. I've got a client, he's a mate of mine now, and has been with me for many years, and he's been in business a long time. And he told me a story a few years ago. I didn't get it, and I really get it now. It's every year every 5 years, the business will reinvent itself. And we've just sort of gone through that cycle. So I've been thinking about what the next 5-year plan is. And our plan is to really solidify ourselves as the go-to advisors for people issues. We've got, the accountants have done very well for many years, and no disrespect to them, and they're great, but we sort of say, hey, you focus on the accounts and we'll focus on the people.
Yeah. And
so we want to really become that sort of that small to mid-level market go-to resource for people issues. We want to definitely grow, but smart growth. I'm not in the race to have the biggest headcounts. We're in the race to have the best impact.
Yeah. Okay.
And how do we impact these businesses the most, with taking the least amount of time out of what they need to do to run their businesses? So look, our thing is definitely growth, but it's smart growth, and it's becoming that really respected and go-to firm business in that small to medium and medium-sized markets.
Yeah, love it. What about yourself, Tom? Personally and,
Mindset.
personally and professionally, what are you working towards right now?
Working towards a few things.
Yeah.
I'm still working towards that 9/11.
Yeah.
I'm getting closer every day. But I think personally, what I'm working towards is actually just trying to slow down a bit. It might sound small, but it's actually very hard to just sort of take a step back and breathe and put a bit of structure into my life now.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, on top of that, you want to set your family up financially and all those sort of things. But yeah, personally, that's what I'm trying to do. And really just enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah.
Going back to what we said earlier about, celebrating those successes more. Yeah. So that's sort of the personal growth I'm going through over the next couple of years. And then shifting into more of a fully management role rather than just also being internal. So that's something I want to work on. You'll always have the clients, that you're working with as an acting advisor, but really stepping up into that role, which will be good.
Oh, can I touch on that then, if you don't mind? A lot of the small business clients I work with, so one goal I didn't invent this target, by the way, but it's one that I use, is we call it 440. So business owners, trying to get them to get to a point where they work 4 days a week for 40 weeks of the year.
Love it.
Which is, ambitious. I think the 4 days a week is more achievable than the 40 weeks a year. I think taking 12 weeks a year off is fairly tricky to do, but the principle is to give them the space to get their business to a point where they could take 12 weeks off because the business will continue to operate.
Yes.
So, and then that feeds into, I speak to all of my clients, and this isn't actually about me. I'm trying to talk about the point you just made, but I speak to all of our clients around being a business, it's cliched, business owner, not business operator.
Yes.
And sort of being able to step yourself up and out to a degree and make your business more of a saleable asset, so to speak. So something you could exit at some point in the future if you wanted to. Is that kind of where you're going? So that was a completely long-winded way to sort of say, is that kind of that path that you're talking about now? Like, you're always going to have a relationship with your certain clients and all the rest, but really to sort of be owner mode, not operator mode.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And it's such a hard, like we're ultimately a service-based business. Like that's what we are. You can put any marketing spin around it, but at the end of the day, we provide a service to clients to allow them to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Service-based businesses are inherently tied to the owners or the principals of the firms. So moving that is I don't think people quite understand how big a shift it is. It's great for Instagram to go do this and do this, but actually doing that is extremely challenging. And I sort of underestimated how hard it would be about 2 years ago.
Yes.
But it's great. And that's what I am talking to. And I think the point of that isn't to try and get it to a point where you can, go and line a boat out in Saint Tropez or something. It's the point of that is to free yourself up.
Yeah.
And the 440, I mean, my wife hates it because we go on holidays and it takes me 5 days to slow down. We get about 3 days of just nothingness, and then I've wound back up again. I have to come home and get back to work.
Yeah.
So but I love the concept.
Yeah. And as I say, it's a goal that we work towards.
Yeah.
And, it might be slightly aspirational, but if you aim for it, even if you got halfway there, you'd probably be pretty happy, sort of thing.
Correct.
So that's how we work with it. So with what advice would you give someone, to starting out? So someone listening to this now and they're thinking, I think this is for me, not your business or my business, but I want to start a business. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be self-employed. I don't want to sit at the desk and work for someone else. If you could just give them a piece of advice before starting out, what would that look like?
I think the first thing would be ask more questions.
Okay.
You just ask more questions and then get involved in things that you don't think you should. And
go on.
I mean, so where I'm going with that is, one of my biggest takeaways is, if someone's chatting to me, is first thing I say is learn to do your own bookkeeping.
Yep.
Because you might be a lawyer. Learn to do your bookkeeping because that's going to give you so much insight into how a legal practice runs. Or if you want to go and do it by yourself, go and be uncomfortable and jump on a podcast. Yeah. Or ask more questions to the guys driving a taxi. because he's got heaps of stories as well. And so just ask more questions and just get as much knowledge as you can. I'll probably, from self-reflection, slow it down a bit, maybe get a little bit more experience under the belt first before you go. But at the same time, just have a crack.
Yeah. I like that. Ask more questions. So that feeds into, what do you think is a critical mindset? I won't talk about skill set because I think you've just sort of touched on that, to be perfectly honest. So if I sort of talk about mindset, what do you think is a critical mindset for an entrepreneurial endeavor?
I think the mindset is you have to be able to take the hits. You just have to be able to get up and keep going, and you have to be able to back yourself.
Yeah, okay.
There's this bit of just pushing through the fear and just taking a step, and sometimes it's not going to work out. But if you're going to get frozen by that, what if it doesn't work out? Or what if they don't like it? Or what if this doesn't work? You're just not going to get anywhere. And so I think being able to get back up, take the hits, back yourself, and just sort of keep pushing forward is what you're going to do. If you just want to sort of hang out and think it's all going to come and you're going to be Mark Zuckerberg, well, you're probably in for a bit of a rude shock.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think that feeds into again, I didn't coin this phrase, but I call this the rules of the game. So when you decide to set out on this endeavor, you have to understand the rules of the game before you set out. And one of those rules, and one of the rules and the rules will be different for everyone, depending on which game you've decided to play, to use that analogy. But one of the rules you're saying is that you're going to take the hits. So if you don't like the idea of taking the hits, maybe it ain't for you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think probably one of the reasons we've gotten to where we've gotten to is there's no other department to handball this to.
Yeah.
You get this bad thing. You can't handball, it's illegal. You got to sort it out.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And sometimes it might take an hour, it might take a week, it might take a month. But it's exactly right. You have to back yourself to get through it. And yes.
So I ask every guest this question.
Sure.
Is entrepreneurship for everybody?
No. And that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. It absolutely is okay. Yeah. And that is generally the response that I get. Yeah, it's not for everybody. Yeah.
It's not. Look, I think one of the big things I take, the highs are so high, but the lows are so low. So you have to keep going. And it's great. It can be very rewarding. But also, you've got to understand the delayed satisfaction is far greater than anyone understands as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yes, and true.
And so it's not for everybody. But if you want to have a go, great. It's probably the best time to do it is now, with the amount of resources and support and people around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But there is something to be said to have a nice, comfortable, stable job where you can go to work, you do what you do, and you go home. One of the big things we say with our teams and when we're dealing with the team members for clients, I don't know why they're acting like this. I'm like, you don't know what's going on in people's world. Their whole world could be falling apart, and the one thing that they know that they have to come to is their job. And they come to work and they do their job and they go home, and that is the one stable that they've got in their life. They could be sick kids, going through divorce, having financial pressures, all these sort of things, but that's what they've got. And a lot of people really want that, and that's good and that's fine. So I'm not talking down to that at all, but is it for everyone? I'd probably say no.
And I always hasten to add that it potentially is a loaded question when I ask that question, but I don't come from a position of that, entrepreneurs are better type thing. It's a case of it's horses for courses. I don't know that it is for everyone. And I think the mindset plays a large part in wanting to go down that path. Absolutely. So if you look back on the journey of Husset HR so far, what's the one thing, if you can pin it down to one thing, well, maybe two things, what are you proud of most?
Probably one of the things, I don't talk about it very much, but I find great personally is I've actually hired a lot of young people through the years.
Yeah.
And then what I always say to them is when you work in my team, I'm going to ask a lot of you, I want you to work hard, but the one thing I will promise you is you'll be better when you leave than when you came in.
Okay. Yeah.
You're going to be better. It's not easy, but you'll be better when you leave. And so we've had some people go through the business and they've been with me for a while and they've gone out, and when they leave, and it is time to leave, like there's no hard feelings. Everything's got its time.
Yeah.
Time to leave. And they've gone and gotten picked up in these absolutely amazing, high-powered, amazing jobs where they're dealing with executive team members. And these are people in their 20s, doing amazing things. And I get a lot of pride out of that, knowing that they can come through. I sort of upheld my promise, and they've gone out and they've got these amazing jobs. So I'm quite proud of that.
I think that's
which is good.
Awesome thing to be proud of, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's probably the main thing.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so here's the tough one. We'll finish up on this one, Tom.
Sure.
I appreciate your time today.
Great.
And I've enjoyed the conversation. It's been, learned some things myself here. But if I could ask you to try and sum up your entrepreneurial journey in one sentence, what would that sentence be?
I'll give you one word: wild.
One word's even, mate, that is as succinct as you can make it. Wild.
No,
I love it.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of hard work, but a lot of fun.
I think ending on a one-word answer being wild is a fantastic way to finish this conversation. So love it. Tom McCarthy,
Excellent.
I want to thank you very much for making the time for me. And it's been great to, we haven't spoken for a while, but it's been great to reconnect and get onto this chat. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So I really do appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Thank you. And that's all for this episode of Origin to Ambition. Thanks for tuning in. To make sure you don't miss our next conversation, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen in. For more information, you can visit us at dominiumcapital.com.au, and we'll see you next time.